Well, every time I come to think we're gonna move on in generations, I remember a new thing. And honestly, how the hell did I forget this one? We are gonna be talking about the most iconic part of Pokemon, the Pokeball. The Pokeball, if you don't know, is well, it's a little red and white spear that you throw and catch Pokemon. It's one of the most iconic things in video games at this point. And if you go and play Generation 1, there's four types of Pokeball or balls, for lack of a better term, that you can use. You Pokeball, Great Ball, Ultra Ball with better chances, and then there's the Master Ball, which is supposed to be a guaranteed catch. But Generation 2 would introduce new Pokeballs to the mythos or whatever you want to call it. And we'll go through in correct order. I actually straight up, I messed this up. I have a list of what all of them do. I know most of them from memory. Like, for example, the fastball I don't actually have uh, written out, but for like heavy ball I do because I just don't memorize it. But yeah, these are all the balls you can get besides the master ball in Generation 2. So we'll go through the new ones and talk about it. Uh, let's first talk about a really cool ball that I think would have helped a lot of people back in the day when it came to certain Pokemon. But the fastball is, it says a ball for catching fast Pokemon, which is not true because this actually doesn't go for any Pokemon based on the speed stat. It focuses on a different mechanic where a Pokemon, wild or roaming, can flee, which means that they can just leave. They don't have to stay there and fight you. It's not up to you to run or catch or whatever. They can randomly flee. This is supposed to increase the rate to 4 times, by the way, of catching those Pokemon that can flee. Except, problem with that, wholeheartedly, is of the what 20 or so that can maybe flee. I think it's even less. Only 3 of them actually work. Magnemite, Grimer, and Tangela. Which I don't know if anybody actually knows this. Those are really slow Pokemon to be caught with the fastball. It really sucks because this would actually be incredibly useful. Uh, with against the roamers, specifically, Entei, Raikou, Suicune, or Entei Raikou in Crystal, it would have been really useful to have this 4 times multiplier, just for having it. Nowadays, it works differently, but we'll talk about it in a different video at some point. Now we have the friend ball. This is actually a pretty useful Pokeball. It's mostly used for, well, friendship, duh. And in Generation 2, it actually raises the caught Pokemon to 200 friendship, which means that you can evolve it pretty quickly. It's really good against, like, Golbats, for instance. It means that you can get a Crobat really, really fast. There's not a lot of Pokemon that are in the wild, necessarily, that this is actually really useful. But, hey, it's a positive ball, so we're going to give Gen 2 some points. Because let me tell you, as we go down this list, it gets really bad. But I do want to point out that the catch rate is not adjusted at all. It's just a bonus for friendship, which is really cool if you're going for something specific. Next, we have the heavy ball, and I had to pull this up because uh, this really affects only Pokemon Crystal. But basically, dependent on the Pokemon's weight, which you can find that information in the Pokedex, funnily enough, it is adding or subtracting a bonus to the catch rate, which is really weird because it's usually a multiplier. But overall, it's just very wild. But in Pokemon Crystal, the retrieved weights of Pokemon whose index numbers are divisible by 64, which is Kadabra, Tauros, and Sunflora, become junk data and turn interpreted as massive weights, causing these particular Pokemon to receive the plus 40 capture modifier. And it's also really terrible because while the heavy ball is actually relevant in specifically like Generation 4 in Heart Gold Soul Silver, it's really good against the legendaries, but the problem is the weight of this is really, really bad. A lot of the Pokemon that you would find that are heavy enough are it's just better to use a different ball. Just straight up, it's just a waste of time. But overall, it's very funny that it has an oversight like that. Level ball is something that you're not going to really run into because if you're if you're if the wild Pokemon you are trying to catch is the same level or lower than you, it is 1 times multiplier basic Pokeball. Though I will admit the level ball, if you ever look at it, looks really sick in design. Uh, if if the Pokemon you are using is a higher level than the wild Pokemon, but less than double it, it is 2 times multiplier. Basically, it continues as it goes on. The only important one is that if the player's Pokemon is of level 4 times or more than that of the wild Pokemon, you get an 8 times multiplier, which is actually kind of relevant. The problem is, like, you have to realize you are basically limited to level 10s or less. I think 12 is the highest you can go and still have the 8 times multiplier, so it's not going to really help out. Love Ball, which is interesting because it has another oversight. Basically, for catching the opposite gender, it doesn't also tell you that it has to be the same species of Pokemon you're using, but in Generation 2, there's a problem with it being that it is the same gender, not the opposite gender. It's an oversight. Yeah, overall, same species and same gender, you get the catch modifier of 8 times, which is insane, except if you've already caught one, do you really need to struggle that hard to catch another? There's not a lot of Pokemon that are like that, so yeah. Lure Ball, this is actually a Pokeball that works. It's a 3 times multiplier if you were fishing and you encountered a Pokemon. Overall, it's actually a really cool designed Pokeball, but honestly, there's just other Pokeballs that are kind of better. Like, are you really gonna spend all day with Kurt for just one of these? Like, it's just a waste. And then the Moon Ball, my favorite joke in all of Generation 2, because what's supposed to, a ball for Moonstone Evolvers, which is a wild statement, but the Moonstone evolves certain Pokemon, so like Jigglypuff, Clefairy, Nidorino, Nidorina. It has applicable Pokemon, and it would be a 4 times multiplier if it worked properly, except there's a little programming error in the game. It only has that multiplier for Pokemon that evolve using a Burn Heal, which, if you know anything about Pokemon, nothing does. So it's just cool looking, I guess. That's one of the things I will say. All these look really cool in design. Besides, I think it's the fastball. I really don't like the fastball. It looks really ugly. But every other one, I think, honestly looks really cool. I like the front ball. I like the green. But yeah, that's basically it. There's also another Pokeball technically in this generation that I can't access because it's just with the bug catching contest. It's called a Sport Ball. It's not important. Maybe I'll talk about Generation 8 where you can technically get it, but yeah. Overall, those are all the new Pokeballs, and while they are interesting, they are broken as hell.